I'm Mike Hatch,
I'm Kenny Dixon.
and here we go. Back again from Faithspotting, as we like to call A C's. No, wait. A E's. No, wait. A A's after Academy Awards. So I guess that would
Oh,
be, yeah, there you go. A at
that's
Academy Awards, AAA's, triple A. There you
yeah,
go. So we made it through, and what did you end up getting on your? Did you keep track of what
not
you?
really. No,
No, that's right,
I
because you were busy, so I know.
yeah, something going on. I'd written down, what we had talked about on a prediction show, but I hadn't really updated it, and then I couldn't find that page, so I was like,
Yeah,
I
that's
wouldn't I
fine.
wouldn't have done that well. It was not one of my better ones.
I did okay. I've been lucky enough, probably for the last decade, to at least pass. Like if you were, talking about grades that you'd get in class, being a
Yeah,
teacher, I pass. And
yeah.
this one I did pretty well. It's probably a good solid C, kind of creeping up on a
I
B.
usually no, but usually do a lot better.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
usually high B's, or you only
that's
miss
true.
typically two or three. I mean,
I was just happy with Weapons. I was so happy when Best Supporting Actress.
yeah,
That made my night. I wasn't going to turn it off, but I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm done now. I'm happy. I'm good. But yeah, that was neat.
yeah.
So
I was mad at Delroy. Didn't
I know
that
that was a
was
bummer.
yeah,
Yeah, that was a bummer. But the rest of it, I think we talked about. We said sin, both sinners, especially sinners, they're going to be shown some love, and so there's a lot of spreading of the love around, and I was not surprised about a lot of that. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
All right, so on to Project Hail Mary. So tell me a little bit about it. What you got?
Well, it's sort of a science fiction, save the Earth, save the solar system from sun-eating things.
That is about right. I think you
Or
got it. And
uh,
honestly, it's funny because I mean, you really break it down in a very simplistic way. But honestly, if you had told me that before I saw it, I probably would have understood a little bit more of it. So,
Yeah, yeah. I can't
no.
remember. I can't remember. I saw this the day after Easter, which is, as a pastor, as your wife knows, is
Mhm.
you're sort of, you
You're
know,
crashing.
yeah. So I saw it after that. So but I could remember, maybe part of it I'll talk about later. I couldn't remember exactly were the what they call them, the uh what they call those, the things that we're eating.
I don't even remember if I hadn't written it.
Astrophage. Were they consuming the sun, or were they just blocking the sun, or stars, or what? So,
Yeah.
but they were resulting in the sun cooling, which was going to cause a great decrease in the Earth's temperature, which sort of opposite of global warming, but it was going to result in a lot of starvation and bad things. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
So I went to this after, as we talk about all the time, I've got incredible film kids and students that I have that just one after the other. Hatch, you got to go see this. Hatch, you got to go see this. And I finally said, all right, so Kenny, are you going to go see this? And you said, okay, I'll go see it.
yeah. I had I
Um,
had I had a couple of folks in the church saw it and liked it.
well, and the other thing too that hit me as well, and part of the reason why it took me a couple of weeks to go and see it was this time of the year, although we're kind of knocking on the door of blockbusters, summer blockbuster season. So there's stuff that's coming up that I'm kind of going, okay, this is good. But in a lot of ways, I feel like we're still in the dark area or the dark lands of the year when it comes to movies. So I almost thought with this one, if you guys like it, it's probably the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So I was just thinking maybe it's just the one out there that I really looked like it was interesting. But I ended up liking it. I thought it was good. Did I think it was the best? Are we going to see it at the end of the year for the Academy Award nominations? No, in my opinion. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. What was your thought on it?
It was okay.
Yeah.
It was 25 minutes too long, um, or at least they could have reworked some of their time. I don't know. It was okay.
Now, does that have to do anything with the day after Easter
Well, it
feeling,
might.
or?
I mean, and I didn't see it. I saw it in a theater close by, so I didn't see it in a huge theater with a big screen, anything like that. I mean, it was, it was a fairly small screen for Cinemark, but yeah, I don't know. I was, it had some good parts. Ryan Gosling, starring as Ryland Grace. I was a little. His character annoyed me for the first, I don't know,
Mm,
20 minutes or
mhm.
once it got going, it was okay. But no, I don't think so. It was just like okay. I mean, he was charming, and he showed a bit of range. Sandra Huller was amazing as always. I don't know how they got her to do that, but
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. Yeah, that I have to agree with you. She was above and beyond everybody, in my opinion, to go, of course, from Anatomy of a Fall and The Zone of Interest. Gosh,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, those movies just by themselves were
yeah.
incredible. But you're right. Yeah, she was one that really stood out from the crowd.
I mean, the best scene was the karaoke scene. That was,
Yeah, man. Holy mackerel. And it was great when she started singing in it. And I do like that song because I know that Harry
yeah,
Styles, who sings that song, he's a big fan of Elton John. And I remember the first time I heard
yeah,
that song, I was like, this is like a complete love of Elton John sort of song. But
yeah.
how appropriate was it to the film and what was going on at that moment? I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and part of me, it's I guess what I do or it's who I am, maybe to a fault. But I'll watch something. It's like, oh, this is from this film. This is, it's
Hmm.
and this one, it was, E.T. the endings, uh,
Hmm.
and
Right.
Wally,
Yep.
and there were a couple others that I've forgotten, connections, which they aren't necessarily bad. I mean, it's sort of, I guess, at some point, is it an homage or is it just a reworking? But and if it's too much of that, it's like, why are we here? I mean, are we
Hmm.
retelling the same story in a different, So,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, the thing as I was watching, and part of the stuff I think I wish they could have maybe reworked, and I understand it was this way in the novel. Um, was a lot of the flashback scenes. It seemed those. I remember watching. It's like, oh crap, here we go with another flash. They became a little tedious, and some of them were, yeah, okay, yeah, you're backfilling this information, but I really don't care about it. I've sort of got things figured out. And I wish maybe they could have taken, either cut some of that or cut some things to make it a little bit shorter, or used, instead of using as much in the flashback scenes, gone into more of the science and really sort of, it's like, wait a minute, okay, time out now. This isn't the future. This is, I mean, as I understand, it was. So
Present day. Yeah.
how are we building a machine that travels the speed of light? I understand they're using it's just like, oh, okay, well, let's flip a switch and here we've got a, it's like how did we get to there, and how did I just felt like they just sort of glossed over some of the science stuff, and
Yeah.
or they just assumed we or me, I knew some of the things. So I don't know. I mean, I could follow along, but it was, you know yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, okay, so here's a big question for you. The one that I couldn't help but compare it to was The Martian, written by the
Mm.
same author. So among the two, what do you prefer better?
Uh, I would take Martian.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean,
Me too. And I think
yeah.
Matt Damon has a lot to do with that. I think he's incredibly likable. He's got that movie, even though it still gets me that what was it, the he won the Golden Globe for like best comedy. And Even to this day, I'm
Yeah.
going, what? Although he was hilarious in the movie, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
still
it
don't look
had
at that
it
as a
had some,
comedy.
of course now, I mean, what they consider comedy, it can be horror, it can be
Oh yeah.
somewhat drawn. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I guess growing his food in his crap. I don't know. I mean,
Mm.
maybe that's funny. I don't
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe that's the way they looked at it. But yeah,
but
but between the two, I have to agree with you, and I'm sure that the students that I spoke with that really loved this movie, they disagree. But I was still definitely a fan of The Martian, more than this. But the film kids that I spoke with, they did go see it at Webb Chapel in
oh
70
really?
millimeter,
Oh
and
wow.
and that I'm sure has a lot to do with it because I did like the cinematography and specifically, and here we go again with aspect ratio, but I really did like how for the space scenes it went essentially 185 to 1. So I guess you'd call it on a screen like you'd have at Cinemark, like a 185 to 1 screen. But then when it went to flashbacks slash, uh, you know, just things that have happened in the past, it did go down to 235 to 1. So
Hmm.
and it did it in a very slight way. It wasn't in your face. So I did enjoy how it did that. I thought that was neat. And it didn't feel like it was I say to my film kids, don't crowbar something. It didn't feel like it was crowbarred. And I thought that was neat how they did that. The directors, we were talking about this before we started, Lord and Miller. They did the Lego movie, Spider-Verse films, which we talked about that I to this day haven't seen. And I feel bad that I haven't seen because I feel like I need to, because so many of my students love them. But yeah, whatever with that. But I'm with you. Yeah, Ryan Gosling. I still thought he was likable. I thought he was
Yeah,
pretty
no, no,
good.
yeah. He was likable. Like I said, he showed some range, showed some comedic range, and
Mhm.
where I mean, I guess we've known that with him, but he got in some dramatic moments and that. Yeah, he was good. He was solid.
And we may be kind of the minority here because Rotten
Yeah.
Tomatoes. I'm just looking at on IMDb here. 174,000 people, 8.4 stars. So it's like, yeah, I think we might be the minority when it comes
Oh
to this
yeah,
film.
yeah. Well, I'm sure I'm an outlier.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny. It's well, I don't know. It's really not, but I've heard a lot of talk about it's led in box office for the last couple of weeks. For 2 weeks maybe, and it's done well, 400 over 400 million
Yeah.
globally, but it did have a 200+ million budget. Then you add on, that used to be the old thing. You double for marketing and all of that, so it's broke even
Yeah.
at this grade. It's done so well. It's like, just which again, doesn't necessarily say anything about the film, more about
Mhm.
the film. But I'm glad it's gotten good buzz. I'm glad it's done. It's made some money, and I'm glad people liked it. It's gone. It's another one of those ones that if it gets people back into the theater to see it,
Hmm.
then it's helpful. So it just didn't appeal to me, and a lot of it. Um, I thought, and I don't know how the book ended, but I thought, and maybe we won't get in necessarily to too many spoilers, but it just seemed like it was okay. They're landing the plane. Oh, we're going around again. We're landing
Hmm.
the plane. Oh, we're going around again. It's like, oh, we're
Hmm.
not going to. Oh, yes, we are. You know, it's. I've heard a lot of sermons. Well, not a lot. I've heard some sermons, and I've preached some sermons. I'm sure the congregation thought, okay, he's coming in for the. Oh no, we're going on another point. And so the ending. I thought the ending really it just was. I'm trying to think. I had another analogy film that I sort of, and I can't remember it now, but it just was like, okay.
But it's funny you say that. When Melissa, we always go to lunch after church, and she was telling me the other day. She goes, "I got a really good compliment from one of my church members." I was like, "What is that?" She goes, "Pastor Melissa, you nailed the landing." And she's like, "What does that mean?" She goes, "You know how to wrap up the sermon. You don't
Yeah,
keep going. You make your points. It's like you make your
yeah.
points and you're out." And
Well,
and
you need to, for all you people, wanting to improve your preaching that are listening, you got to, forecast a little bit, or you project that you're bringing it home,
Mhm.
and then bring it home. The worst thing, because people are going to, if you project that, okay, you're coming in and you come in and then you pull back up for a go around, or that, they feel lost. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, it's just not good. So land once.
Yes, exactly. So this one did not do that. You're right. There were several endings, several ins and outs where you're kind of going, okay, oh no, we're not done yet.
Yeah,
So yeah. But for me, at least watching the film, you can see where the money went. I thought the visuals were great. I did like the relationship. One thing we didn't even talk about it at all, although you did mention it, and I would kind of refer to it as sort of the ET-ism of it, is Rocky, who's this kind
yeah,
of Melissa looked at him and thought that he was more of almost like a crab, like a rock crab kind of thing, looked like a
yeah.
crab.
Yeah.
So he's sort of the extraterrestrial. Oh gosh, there was something I
But
was
see,
going to
but
say.
see, even that was not explained.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, what happened? How do you? It's like, oh, it's just like, well, we don't want it to go that way, so we're going to pull it back, and
Mhm.
I,
It's very true.
you know,
No, you're right. And
um,
I did to go I went to go see this with Melissa and Maddie, so my wife and my daughter. And one thing you already mentioned that she mentioned, and my daughter did too, is like, wow, this is really going long. I mean,
yeah,
so it felt long to them. For me, I just kind of let it wash over me. It was more of a relaxing thing than anything else, for a long weekend that I had. But the other thing that is kind of in relation to what we're talking about that I thought was interesting that they noticed, that goes back to what we were saying with people coming to theaters, and at least it's getting people into theaters. They said after maybe even the middle of all the previews, they said, gosh, is it just me, or is it they're just like all of these superhero films and action films and
yeah,
all these other things? It doesn't
yeah,
seem like there's anything with any
yeah,
substance anymore.
yeah,
And I said to her, again, while we were in the middle of trailers, I said, unfortunately, that's what's getting people into theaters these days. And that's all that Hollywood is thinking of. And Hollywood is very reactionary. Even today, we were watching some movie trailers in one of the film classes, and half of them are a reaction to the extreme horror of Terrifier because they knew how much money that made on barely a budget. So everybody's reacting to it. They're riding the wave of, oh, this made so much money. So we're going to try to do the same thing so
yeah,
we can make a lot of money. And that's why I always admire movies that just, to quote Fleetwood Mac, go their own way. They just do their own thing.
yeah.
And sometimes reactionary can be fun, but other times, recently, I think it's exhausting.
Yeah, I had the same thought. I can't, the previews, and it's interesting because it sort of tells you, if you go into the movie blind, like sort of, we like to do, we stated, and you get a sense of what type of film it's going to be based on, because they spend a lot of money and time trying to, you know, they figure most people are saying that, know what they're getting into, so they're pretty like-minded films, if you will, and so the ones that came up, a lot of that was, oh, okay, so this is going to be a superhero. This is going to be, and another thing, and again, it doesn't, maybe it speaks to my mood, which maybe speaks to a little bit my reaction was. I mean, I generally usually like trailers, but after a while, it's like I didn't want to see the green trailer. I didn't want to see the green screen about this trailer. Is
Mhm.
Let's get on with. Okay.
I mean, you have
Oh, we got
to,
to.
if you think about it, you have to basically weave in a good 20 to 30 extra minutes.
Yeah.
It's gotten to that point.
Well, it used to be that. Yeah, we used to, when we would plan. My Michelle, my wife, really likes trailers, and I enjoy them too.
Me
But
too.
although as many films as we might, I see more films in the theater with her. So if it's been a good week or month for me seeing films, I've probably seen those trailers already. But
Oh yeah.
but um, yeah, it used to be, you could easily, if it started on the top of the hour, you could easily figure at least 15, maybe 20 minutes and before you started. And sometimes I've been in them where they got almost to 30 minutes, and it's like, oh,
Hmm.
and they were sitting in for a 2.5 hour film, and
Hmm.
now you've got and all you hear about, it strikes me weird because you hear theaters saying, well, we don't want long films because we want to be able to squeeze another showing in. It's like, well, if you take out a lot of these screeners, and I mean, that's a
Oh
whole
yeah.
that's a whole
Oh
new
man, you're
thing.
preaching to the choir there, man. I'm
Yeah,
I'm with you on that.
yeah,
I'm with you. I do enjoy trailers, but there are trailers that, especially like over the summer, I really try to stuff in as many movies as I can. And you get to the third, fourth, fifth movie over the summer, and you start seeing that Cinemark commercial again, where they play "Don't You Forget About Me" from The Breakfast Club, and
oh
the
yeah,
the movie rewards thing, and then you have this trailer that you're just going, oh my gosh, I've seen this every single time before, and I still do not want to see this movie. I really don't want to see this movie.
the guy
So,
comes in and he slurps on his drink and he's missed the big meal. He's missed the
yes.
big, yeah, like,
Yeah, and it gets to be exhausting. And
yeah,
and okay, I understand you got to advertise. I mean, I get that. But oh my gosh, it just gets to the point where it's we're cutting down on movie theaters that do this, that there really aren't any movie theaters out there anymore that go, we're just gonna maybe have a trailer or two, and then we're gonna get right into the
yeah,
film. I mean,
yeah,
that's really not in existence anymore. And while we're on
yeah.
the subject, what is it? Alamo Draft House, I think pretty recently they incorporated the fact that you can now order from your phone, which completely takes away the whole thing.
You have to order from your phone.
Thank you. You have to order from your phone, which means you're going to have
So
those things going
those
on for the whole
lights,
dang
yeah,
movie,
yeah, but
which they used to pride themselves on.
yeah, yeah. Alamo
Ugh.
House has, after they came out of their bankruptcy, I've been a couple of times, and the food was awful. I mean,
Oh man.
I know you're not going to, it's not a 5-star Michelin restaurant, but
Yeah.
anyway,
Used to be better.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Um, so I forgot I was going to say something. Oh well, yeah. The other, and we've gotten off track from the film, but
Yeah.
it's the state of film. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So I didn't get up at 4 o'clock. I woke up at 10 till 4, just by chance, and I knew they were announcing the films for the initial release at Cannes for this year. So I watched. I finally figured out where to get the trend. It was in French. I was looking on YouTube, and I finally figured out where to go for the YouTube that had a translation. But there's they had been signaling for a while that there weren't going to be hardly any American films and no blockbusters. And so uh, Spielberg's not going. The Odyssey's not going. The film with Tom Cruise
Mm.
may go to Venice, but what they were saying is, since again, sort of the copy, since Sinners and One Battle, they didn't do the festival route, and it's beginning for those big budget films that they see. It's sort of a risk that you can go to Cannes or Venice or Toronto, and then if you don't get a good, if the people are, if you get bad reviews, then you're sunk.
Mm.
So, but uh, Thierry Frimo, the guy who sort of chooses all the films or runs it, he was saying they had um, 2,400 films submitted, and there's one American film in competition
Oh my
in the
goodness.
main competition. Now they're probably going to add another 10 or 15 between the various
Yeah.
things, but and he said Hollywood's in a transition time, and we hope we will welcome them back, hopefully next year or whatever. But
And again, there are things that pop up that show me that there's glimmers of hope when I have students, and when you're seeing the trailer for the Odyssey, and you go, okay, all right, there's
yeah,
a little bit of hope here.
yeah,
There's some sparkles of hope. Now, granted, it's from probably one of the most respected directors in the world right now. Christopher Nolan, but
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, it's a
I
dark
was
time.
and he's no, I don't know, notoriously I don't know that I think he took one of his early films, like in the early 2000s, to Cannes, or maybe went to, maybe it was Venice, but he typically hasn't done that. But
Mm,
he was at Cannes. He hosted the 50th anniversary. I've talked about it before, of in 2018 of 2001, and so
mm.
he had worked in bringing all that together and introduced it. So I was sort of thinking, oh, come on, Chris, didn't you have a good time? you know,
Please come back.
yeah, come on, man.
Please. I know. I
But
know.
yeah,
I just
so
think it, yeah, and we can hem and haw about this as much as we want, but it's just you said it. It's the state of a film, and every week I look at the box office totals, and I still remember not too long ago where those numbers were huge, and
yeah,
now you just look at them and go, oh my goodness, oh, Hollywood's on life support, it seems.
yeah.
But hey, at least we've still got TV, I guess, right? So,
Well, yeah. Um, I guess. Um, so faith issues. Um, I really think there's, for me, I'll just focus on one and say, not that I was asleep or anything, or maybe not paying attention, but I think the one that really stood out here is uh, inherent in the good part of the film is, so you had Ryan Gosling's character Ryland Grace, and the this Rocky character voiced by James Ortiz, and he was, I don't say he was an alien, I guess, that they were from another uh, solar system, from who knows where, but obviously looked like you said, a crab, stone crab, rock crab, or and but the fact that they were able, obviously different backgrounds, different places, different ways of survival, requiring different things, and they were both there for the same purpose, to try to save, figure out what was going on from this one star that was not being consumed.
mm,
And so they're there for the same purpose, but they found a way, to work together, and not really, almost to celebrate the differences, and to celebrate overcoming the differences, of atmosphere that they each required, and what they had to do to be able to work together. That was almost a celebration thing, and they developed a close friendship and partnership. And you're sitting there, we're sitting there, either as whatever divides us in our societies now. Certainly, faith has its, either other faiths, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, whatever, Hindu, completely different faiths, or different expressions, or living out of your same faith. And we're so isolated from one another in our own silos, either faith wise or socially or politically, that we don't seek to have any kind of come together, figure out ways that we can just get along. And whereas here, and ironically, they were sort of in their own silos. They had to be, because just the way the environment and the atmosphere that
mm,
they each needed were so different. But yet, even in the midst of having to be in silos, they were able to work together.
mm.
And so I think that really speaks to us. And again, since we're faith spotting, um, really challenges us to understand that and take seriously our call, and especially now within the various faith faiths, that we need to uh, project, working together and being accepting of other faiths, not judging, not condemning, but really pushing against the radical sides of each faith that would like to see other faiths, uh, overtaken, or we need to model that working together, that desire. And I just sat there when I was watching it, and just a couple of the scenes, it's like, man, you know, we could learn as Christians, either various understandings of within Christianity, or Christians with other faiths. We could really use this coming together, and even in the midst of our silos, finding ways to do what we need to do. And right now, what we as faith communities need to do is show grace, show love, show compassion for other persons in general, regardless of their faith. And right now, um, Rylan, we need Rylan Grace. We need to show grace to others, in the way that Rocky and Rylan did. So this,
Agreed.
yeah, it just shows where we're lacking, I think, in this, and in the ways of the world. Typically when we've had so when we've been divided, there's been something to pull everybody back together again. And right now, what generally used to do that on a national level is just typically pushing us away, or feeding our desire to reject, and to fight one another, which
Mm.
is a little disheartening.
Mhm.
Um,
But
they sort of mentioned it. Well, Sandra Hüller, Eva Stratt, her character, I think, when Ryland Grace was saying, well, do we really, okay, so we just come together and learn not to eat as much, and blah blah blah. And she said something about, that would require countries wanting to work together, and they're not going to want to do that.
mhm,
That would require sort of a peaceful coexistence and mutual sacrifice, and they're not going to want to do that. We
you're
weren't,
exactly right.
we wouldn't. So,
Yeah, no, that's
um,
exactly right. And I
yeah,
think from just that aspect in itself, I think this is a good time for that to come out, because
yeah,
it's Lord knows it's like that these days,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah.
Mm.
So it did, and that was a pretty, again, it hit me pretty strongly. So it wasn't, trying to shoehorn it, or stretching it to get it to qualify as faith that we spotted. I thought it was a pretty evident, and a very something that's very much needed. Certainly for ecumenical relationships between faiths, or within one faith, or even just national, social, political, whatever uh, sides and differences. We need to come together. And part of that, and again, and sort of, maybe we've gotten in somehow that um, working with another group doesn't mean you're surrendering your belief, or you're surrendering your faith. If you work with another group, it
Mm.
doesn't mean you have to surrender what you believe. It just means, hopefully, part of what you believe is drives you to reach out and to connect. And they were sort of forced to do it, just again, just the way Rocky and Rylan, the way they had to survive. Again, I think that's a good model for us. We can work together as people of different faiths, or different expressions of faith, without having to surrender what we believe.
Mhm.
So
So
yeah,
again, for this film, because, well, I don't know, it was funny. One of the kids said to me, they were talking to the projectionist at Cinemark Web Chapel, and they said, "How long you can have this up?" And they said, "Ah, till we have the Super Mario Galaxy movie out, then we're going to get that on IMAX." And you're going, "Oh, okay." so so I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on one of those big formats, but I think the XDs, or even
yeah.
regular IMAX, maybe not the big web chapel, but maybe the regular IMAX, you could still catch it in theaters.
Yeah, I guess, did you see it in a pretty
We saw it at
nice.
just a regular theater.
Yeah,
And honestly, that just happened to be the time that we could
yeah,
go, and that
yeah,
was the exact time that they had that showing.
yeah.
So I certainly would have, but whatever. It
Well,
was, yeah, still good.
yeah, yeah. I probably won't go to a big screen to see if it's better, but
Oh, well, that's fine.
if you can, yeah, try to see it in a larger format as you can.
Yeah, cool.